It's that time of the week again. It's the Dynasty Waiver Wire show for you degenerate Dynasty players like myself who play in those leagues with 12, 14, 16 teams, or who play in leagues where you have 30 or 35 on the roster and you're scraping by each week. This show is for you. It's a deep Dynasty Waiver Wire show. Again, not for redraft. There's enough redraft waiver wire show content stuff out there. This is for you Dynasty players. So let's just jump right into it, guys. Starting off at the quarterback position, Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley needs to be, if he's not already, in every Superflex Dynasty league needs to be rostered. He might be taking over as the Dolphins quarterback, and it wouldn't surprise me. Obviously, they went with Skylar Thompson. Skylar Thompson gets hurt with a chest injury of some sort. Not sure what the severity of that is yet. Again, I'm recording this kind of early afternoon on Tuesday. So don't have a lot of injury report stuff in yet, but he got injured. Tim Boyle came in. They didn't activate Huntley, and I think a lot of that just has to do, they need to, at least give him a week or two to kind of coach him up and get him familiar with the system, whereas Tim Boyle was already in the system. So I can't imagine the Dolphins would roll with Tim Boyle as their starting quarterback. I think Huntley gives them a little bit more upside, a better chance to win. And we've seen Tyler Huntley in the past start and play before, and he has a rushing floor that he can give you for fantasy football, which is something, right? You look at his in his career in 2021, he averaged 42 yards rushing per game. In 2022, 23 yards rushing per game. Last year, 11 yards rushing per game. His first year, 11 and a half. So he gives you a rushing floor. Tyler Huntley needs to be rostered. Taylor Heineke seems to be the backup quarterback for the Chargers. They put him in when Justin Herbert got hurt. I think there's a good chance Herbert misses the week 4 game against the Chiefs because they have a week 5 bye. And I'm not sure you're going to want to start Taylor Heineke against the Chiefs, but just in case this is a long-term injury for Herbert, seems like Heineke is going to be the guy. Maybe even grab Easton Stick just in case Heineke isn't, maybe it is Easton Stick. But you see Herbert with the injury. He was injured coming into the season, injured in this last week's game, re-aggravating that high ankle sprain, has had foot issues. So this could be something that lingers. Definitely want to have Taylor Heineke on my roster in Superflex. And then Mason Rudolph. I have on this list. He is the backup quarterback for the Titans, in case you didn't know. Will Levis continues to just lose them games. It's like one play each week that is like the determining factor in whether they win or lose. And the coach is not going to, Callahan is not going to live with that. He's going to move on if he continues to do that, Will Levis. So just looking at the bye week for the Titans is week 5. So if Will Levis does another stupid thing against the Dolphins and doesn't look very good, they go into their bye week, I think they might transition to Mason Rudolph. So he needs to be rostered. It's a super flex. We'll take any starting quarterback. Absolutely any starting quarterback. That's it for the quarterbacks. I mean, if there's any free agent guys out there currently, Ryan Tannehill and guys like that, I would potentially be putting on my roster just in case they get a call. So just keep that in mind. Into the running back position, Sione Vaki is someone that I keep mentioning each and every waiver wire week. He is the RB4 for the Lions currently. Also, Craig Reynolds, if he's out there, RB3 for the Lions. I keep saying this over and over like a broken record. There are certain teams where I want every single running back that's on an active roster for that team. The Lions is one of those teams. I want all the running backs that are on the active roster for the Lions. And it's Gibbs, it's Montgomery, it's Craig Reynolds, and it's Sione Vaki. So if something were to happen to Gibbs or Montgomery, we could see more of an expanded role for Vaki. So definitely wanted to pick him up. The next one here, now I've been always calling him Tyler Beatty. I heard someone say it's actually Tyler Bidet, which is kind of an unfortunate last name if that's what his last name really is. I'm just going to stick with Beatty for now. Either way, you know who I'm talking about. Tyler Beatty has been around the NFL for a few years now. Was a 6th-round pick in 2022. Has been on Denver. He missed. He didn't play in 2023 at all, or he didn't record a carry. He only had 1 carry up until I think, up until week 2 of this year. Then they gave him 9 touches in the game against Tampa Bay. It could have been because that game was a little bit out of a hand, but they gave him 9 touches. He averaged 7.8 yards per attempt. He showed them something, and what they haven't gotten much in terms of efficiency from their current running backs. Javonte Williams, who's averaging 2.2 yards per attempt. Jaleel McLaughlin, who, I kind of like McLaughlin, but he's also averaging 2.2 yards per attempt. And then you get Tyler Beatty comes in, and he has 9 carries for 70 yards. So I think he should probably be rostered. Now, it's unfortunate because they just have a kind of a cluster, of running backs on that team. Yeah. They just have a bunch of running backs on that team. I think Audric Estime got hurt, right? Did he go to the IR? If I'm not mistaken, I'm just looking that up right now. I'm pretty sure Audric Estime, he's on the injured reserve. So that's why Tyler Beatty's on the team. I still like Blake Watson as well, who's on the active roster. I think because you see such poor running back play from these guys, I'm interested in stashing a Denver running back. I know that Beatty went back to the practice squad, but that could just be kind of a roster thing, right? And they're going to bring him back up when it's closer to game day. And then Blake Watson, I mentioned it. Blake Watson, I think, is another one who they really like. He's an undrafted guy. I think he's a very, very talented pass catcher. And we know how Sean Payton loves his pass catching running backs. Blake Watson, I still think, is a dynasty deep stash. Chris Brooks. Chris Brooks is someone who I've been talking about for a while. He was on the Dolphins last year and to start this year. He's now on the Packers, which is interesting because the Packers essentially have 3 running backs. They have obviously Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, and then they have now Chris Brooks. Marshawn Lloyd is going to the IR, I believe. So you're looking at the RB3 for the Packers. And I do think the Packers are going to start running more 2 running backs. They're going to start using more Emmanuel Wilson with Josh Jacobs. So if something were to happen to either one of them, I think Chris Brooks could be like a passable deep dynasty flex-worthy guy. And I like Chris Brooks. I think he's kind of a talented, potentially talented player. Like he has, some of the physical stuff that you like. So I liked him in college, and he is a little bit slow, but I liked his production coming out of college. I think it was BYU is where he went. He played at Cal and BYU, but he's a bigger back. He's 6'1", 230, 240. So he had some pretty good production there, especially his last year at BYU. Hassan Haskins, I'll repeat it again. He's been on this list for the last couple of weeks, just like the Lions, just like the Dolphins, just like the 49ers. The Chargers are a team where I want every single running back that's on their active roster. Currently, that is J.K. Dobbins, that's Gus Edwards, that is Hassan Haskins and Kamani Vidal. Now, Kamani Vidal is usually a game day inactive, healthy scratch. Hassan Haskins, who has the connection with Harbaugh back at Michigan. If something were to happen to J.K. Dobbins, who is very, very injury prone, or Gus Edwards, who's also injury prone himself, and he's on the north side of 29 years old, I want to have Hassan Haskins because I wouldn't be surprised if one of those guys go down. We're looking at Hassan Haskins getting 15 carries a game. Patrick Taylor, 49ers running back. I just mentioned it. 49ers running back. I don't know when Christian McCaffrey is going to be back. I really don't. He's going to see a specialist in Germany looking at his Achilles tendonitis. I don't think that's good news. I don't think we see Christian McCaffrey. I'd be surprised if we saw him before November 1st. I would be very surprised if we saw him before November 1st. And it could be even later than that. So what we're looking at is you got Jordan Mason, who's currently touching the ball 20 plus times a game. You have Isaac Guerrero, who's a rookie. And then you have Patrick Taylor. Patrick Taylor, who played on the Packers, I believe, before this. Just double checking that. Yeah, he was with Green Bay for 3 years, is now on the San Francisco active roster. And if something were to happen to Jordan Mason, Patrick Taylor could be the guy, right? We didn't expect Jordan Mason to be the guy, and he was. And they look at him now. So San Francisco, whoever is getting a significant amount of carries for them is going to be valuable for fantasy football. It just is, no matter how good or bad they are. That's the offensive system. Trust the system. Ronnie Rivers, I have here. He is seemingly the backup for Kyren Williams. I'm not sure what his roster percentage is currently. I can double check Sleeper. Sleeper's a little weird because I think it shows redraft percentages as well. But Ronnie Rivers is currently 14% rostered. He is seemingly the backup for Kyren. It's not Corum. Now, if something were to happen to Kyren, do they switch to Corum? It is very possible. Very, very possible. And they use Corum more on just like special teams and stuff like that. But at the same time, we didn't think Kyren Williams was anything going into last year. And then Cam Akers, gets hurt or traded, doesn't look good. And he's awesome. He's a league winner. What if whoever's the running back for the Rams could be a potential league winner? Ronnie Rivers is currently on their active roster. I'm going to have him on my team. Jeremy McNichols, Austin Eckler. This is more of a desperate 1 week start type of play. Jeremy McNichols is on the Commanders, by the way. Remember his time with the Titans as well, Jacksonville. He can catch some passes. He caught 28 passes back in 2021 when they were kind of using him as that pass catcher. Austin Eckler got hurt potentially with a concussion in yesterday's game. I don't think people have realized this, but Austin Eckler has actually been pretty good for fantasy football. Like it doesn't look great when you just look at the raw numbers, but then you start putting it together and doing the math, and you're like, oh, interesting. Austin Eckler has 9 catches for 120 yards. He's basically heading into yesterday's game was on pace for like 60 catches, 800 yards, 400 yards on the ground. Like he was on for a PPR running back. He was going to be top 24. He was going to be top 24. And honestly, he might even be top 24 right now. I'm going to double check that. A lot of people don't realize that with Austin Eckler. He's RB 26 and he got knocked out of the game kind of early-ish in yesterday's game. He's put up double-digit points each of the first 3 weeks, 10.2, 11.5, 13.7. It's because he's caught 4 passes, 3 passes, 2 passes. He's going to get a touchdown here and there. Jeremy McNichols, I think, just fills the Austin Eckler role. I think he'll play 40%, 35-40% of the snaps. I think he'll catch 4 passes. He'll get 6-7 carries, and you hope he busts off a big one or, either catching it or running it. So desperation, deep dynasty start, but I think Jeremy McNichols might not be a bad one this week. Ronnie Rivers, we talked about. Keontae Ingram, again, he's on the Chiefs' active practice squad. Carson Steele looks like to be the guy with Samaje Perine, but, Keontae Ingram, maybe if one of those guys goes down, he gets an expanded role. Just throwing it out there in case you didn't realize Keontae Ingram is currently on the active roster for the Chiefs. And then Jonathan Ward is an interesting one. He's a Steelers running back, Jonathan Ward. He's been on the team for a bit, I believe. He was on Arizona, Tennessee, and now he's on Pittsburgh. He hasn't really done much at all in his career. I think he was an undrafted guy. He has pretty good size. He's like 6 foot, 210. But why I bring him up is because Jaylen Warren seemed to have re-aggravated his injury or had another injury or something injury related for him. Najee Harris was seen in a sling. I think he's going to be okay is kind of the latest report here. But, you got Jaylen Warren and Najee a little beat up. The other option on the team is Cordell Patterson. Cordell Patterson, to me, if something were to happen to Najee, maybe his role expands a little bit, but they're going to bring someone else in, either from the practice squad or a free agent. Well, currently on their practice squad, Jonathan Ward's on there. and he's the one I think they would go with because he has experience. They also have another running back on the practice squad. His name is Aaron Shamklin from Harvard, second-year guy. So maybe he would be the one. I'm not sure. But, it's potential here. You got two, the running back 1 and 2 are potentially injured. You want to start looking deep onto the practice squad for sure. Into the wide receivers, don't have too many wide receivers here. I have Paris Campbell just with the A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith injuries. Devontae Smith it sounds like A.J. Brown's going to miss one more week. Devontae Smith, I think it's a concussion, could miss this week. That leaves them with, you kind of look at the Eagles depth chart and their wide receiver 3, obviously, is Jahan Dotson, who might be a good play. Johnny Wilson, who is a rookie, and I'm not sure how much they're going to trust him to go out there and be like a starting receiver. Britton Covey is more of a special teams guy. And then there's Paris Campbell, who has experience, and they might turn to him to be more of their wide receiver 2 than they do Johnny Wilson. So, again, I don't expect A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith to miss significant time, but we're talking for you deep dynasty, desperation kind of players. Calvin Austin, I liked Calvin Austin coming out of college a lot, out of Memphis. Had him on most of my dynasty teams. He was a 4th-round pick back in 2022, and then he just didn't do anything. He missed his entire rookie year. He only caught 17 passes last year, and it's hard to hold those guys, 4th-round players who go 2 years without really doing anything. This is what I expected from Calvin Austin, this deep threat burner, stretch the field, best ball kind of player. And he potentially is turning into that. Van Jefferson, I believe, got hurt in this game. He exited. He had the eye injury. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but that led to Calvin Austin playing more. If he's out there on the waiver wire, you're in a best ball league, or you need like a deep desperation start, he might not be a bad one if Calvin Austin, that is, if Van Jefferson's going to miss. Mason Tipton, I mentioned him in last week's waiver wire show, but Mason Tipton is the wide receiver 3. Is the wide receiver 3 for the Saints. So it's interesting. It's interesting in that, Mason Tipton is a rookie out of Yale. I don't think he was drafted at all. I'm just double checking that. He was undrafted, but he's a rookie out of Yale who has seemingly beat out Cedric Wilson and A.T. Perry and who else is on the team? Oh, Equinemius St. Brown, I think. Oh, no, Bub Means. He beat out all these guys. Cedric Wilson, Bub Means, A.T. Perry. I think he is the wide receiver 3 for the Saints. I'm just double checking that. But even if he's not, maybe it is Cedric Wilson. Mason Tipton, it's still kind of impressive that he's out there getting playing time as an undrafted rookie out of Yale. So I think he's a decent ad for more of a long-term view, not necessarily for this week, but I like his game a little bit. He's a smaller receiver, but I do like his game. I think he has good game. He's a little bit raw, right? Obviously coming out of Yale, that's going to happen, but he's a burner. He runs a 4.34. So I love that. Love that for him. Last receiver here is Casey Washington. Just look at how much Darnell Mooney and Ray McCloud are involved for the Falcons. And that makes me think, well, if something were to happen to them, who's going to replace them? So if something were to happen to Darnell Mooney, it could be Casey Washington or for Ray McCloud. And you look at Darnell Mooney, he's having a good start to his year. Ray McCloud, and no one even thought of this, but Ray McCloud is actually also having a solid year. 4 catches for 52, 3 for 42, 2 for 17. He gets some rushing attempts. He returns kicks, all that stuff. I think Casey Washington, who I like his game. I like him coming out of Illinois. I think he was impressing in camp. Again, this is more of a long-term play, but I like Casey Washington. Eric All into the tight ends. Probably not out there, especially after this last week. You're going to have to be fighting for him, but he had 4 targets, 4 catches each of the last 2 weeks. I think he's very talented. I think they want to get him as part of that offense and kind of that consistent third option for them. please pick up Eric All if he's out there. I don't think he will be, but if he is, just please do. Elijah Higgins. Elijah Higgins, tight end, as you know, for the Arizona Cardinals. Elijah Higgins, I kind of liked, again, a couple years ago. Big, athletic player, 6'3", 240. Kind of in the mold of that new age tight end. He was drafted in the 6th round by the Dolphins. He got waived, and now he's on the Arizona Cardinals. I think he's the number one replacement for Trey McBride in terms of receiving. I know they have Tip Raymond, who they drafted in the 3rd round, 4th round, 2nd round. They drafted him this year, I think in day 2. He's more of a blocking guy, in my opinion. Elijah Higgins is more of that receiving threat. So, Kyler Murray likes his tight ends. He's going to target his tight ends. Elijah Higgins, to me, will fill kind of that void of Trey McBride not there. And he'll get a decent amount of targets. So I think Elijah Higgins should probably be picked up. And then, of course, Brock Wright, he's going to probably be the replacement for Sam Laporta. If Laporta misses some time, which he might with a low ankle sprain, he might not. But, Brock Wright, we've seen make some catches, make some plays. Again, he could be a desperation tight end start here if something were wrong with Sam Laporta. So that's all I have for you guys here, the Deep Dynasty waiver wire for this week. Appreciate you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and help us to get to 600. I believe we're like 25 subscribers away. Much love. See you guys all.